Same number to call if you want to speak to our phobia expert this evening, who is Dr. Sandi Mann. How did you become a phobia expert? Just...
Well, years of experience. I actually trained in the NHS many, many years ago. That's all I did was deal with phobias, panic attacks. And I actually found it really satisfying because, you're really changing people's lives. And since then, I've got my own clinic in Manchester and I've just been doing it ever since. It's a bit of a niche market,
I was going to say, yeah.
That's all I do, phobias and panic attacks and
okay.
a bit of obsessive compulsive disorder, just to vary things a little bit. And I love it.
Let's see how you get on with these. And Neil's first up in Croydon. Hi, Neil.
How you doing, Phil?
I'm all right. Why are you laughing?
Well, it just seems a bit ridiculous, though apparently it's not, which I was quite relieved to hear. So maybe I'll get some advice.
Hey, listen, you're talking to a man who does ridiculous for a living, so nothing's ridiculous on this programme.
People are always embarrassed about their phobias, but you shouldn't be. There's no need to be, because not as far as I'm concerned, they're all perfectly normal. I see them all the time.
So what's yours, Neil?
I'm embarrassed. But it kind of takes over at times when the situation arises that it becomes into play, and that's what I'm worried. Not so much now, but in later life, because it really does wind me up so much.
Go on, what is it?
It's needles and hospitals.
Aha. I do a lot of those, yeah.
To the point where, for example, if I have to go for a blood test, yes?
Yeah.
I won't let anyone come anywhere near me with a needle unless I have the Emla cream.
Oh, but you're okay once you have the Emla cream's a kind of an anaesthetising cream, isn't it? You're okay with that?
No, not okay, but it helps.
Right. Do you faint?
Do I what?
Do you faint? Do you faint away, or do you just feel anxious?
I just feel anxious.
Okay. It's actually very, very common and fairly easy to treat. I could treat you very quickly, probably in about 4 sessions. And if I can, that means other people who are experts in phobias and cognitive behavioural techniques can do the same. If you don't faint, that helps things slightly, because there's 2 kinds of needle phobics. There's the kind that faint, and that's a kind of physiological response that you can't really help. And then there's the kind that you are, where you feel very anxious and maybe panicky.
So I know you can't do a whole session now, but just give Neil a clue as to what you would do in those 4 sessions. What kind of CBT would you do?
What you need to do is to learn relaxation techniques. The one I use is deep muscle relaxation techniques, which you can get books on, you can buy tapes, and you can teach yourself to relax or get somebody to help you with that. And then you would gradually expose yourself to the situation that you're fearing, which in your case is needles and hospitals. So what I do in my clinic is I'll have a nurse with me, and we'll start off by just putting the needle against the skin. But what you could do at home, if you can get hold of a needle, is to actually inject an orange or something and actually practice that way. Obviously, you don't want to inject yourself, because that's not a safe thing for me to advise.
But again, that wouldn't bother me.
That wouldn't bother you.
If I have the needle and I've been doing something like that, that doesn't bother me at all.
Excellent.
Absolutely not.
Well, that's a good start. What you could do is go to your nurse in your local GP practice and explain the situation and ask for some gradual sessions where you can learn to relax, and she can approach you with the needle, but you're in control and you know that you don't have to have it. And you can actually learn to control it that way. Actually, needle phobia is a hard one to do on your own because, of course, you do need the nurse. You can't actually do it yourself. But it is very treatable.
So, Neil, if you could have one in your hand then and you could inject the orange, as has just been suggested by Sandi, well, what do you think is the worst part? Is it the anticipation of it going into your arm?
Yes, I guess so. I don't really know, because I've never even had... any terribly bad experiences or anything like that, but it's just something that I've had from a kid, from about 4, for no reason.
Is there anyone in your family that has the same thing? Because there's often a genetic link or a learnt link.
I believe my uncle has, but I didn't find out about that until much, much later on.
Yeah, but it might be you've got a sort of genetic predisposition to it, so it's something that, you may not be able to help. But it is really treatable, and it's just a matter of graded exposure, gradual exposure. You need to feel in control. You need to feel that you can have the needle or not. You can say no, basically, and it's something that's not done to you.
Well, is there any chance I can leave details with the producer and you get in contact, because I want to get on top of this completely, 100%.
Yeah, we can put you in touch. I'm looking for a nod. We can do that. So Neil, we'll say goodbye on the radio, and I'll get Chris to talk to you off air.
Thank you.
And we'll hook you up with Dr. Sandi Mann. That's Neil in Croydon. Karen up next, who's in Devon. Hi, Karen.
Hello.
Hi, Karen.
I'm sorry. I thought I was going to be phased out. I've got the normal, spider one.
Spider phobia.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant.
I never used to be scared of spiders when I was very young.
Yeah.
But when I was about 10 years old, I had a spider in my mouth when I was asleep.
I was going to say, how did it get in your mouth?
Was it a bush tucker trial?
Oh, that's horrible, isn't
I was
it?
asleep and my mouth was open and it went in there and...
Oh, that makes me cringe.
It was the most horrible experience of my life.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've avoided...
I don't blame you, Karen. I mean,
See, again, like my dog one, that's founded in realistic... That's a thing that's happened, isn't it?
And it was a traumatic experience. It's completely understandable. You've probably given half the listeners a spider phobia with that.
I've gone to the extent of leaving the house and sleeping in my car because there's been a big spider in it and nobody was there to, to take it away.
Do you know, at one point I thought about setting up a spider busting service, to go hand in hand with my clinic, where we'd go out and get people's spiders for them. But obviously, this does need treating. And again, it's about gradual exposure. It's about learning to relax and to cope with the fear. The same with any phobia.
I do that. I do try.
Yeah.
I do try to sort of sit back and think, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Those things are so much smaller than I am, and they're much more worried about me than I am about them. Right. It doesn't quite work.
It doesn't work because, logic goes out the window when you're faced with something that has triggered a very traumatic memory for you. So, it doesn't work when we get very anxious. But just gradual exposure will retrain your mind. And my clinic's called the Mind Training Clinic because it's about retraining your mind and the way that you think and the way that you approach the spider. Look, you're never going to love spiders necessarily, but it's about coping with them, being able to perhaps catch one without touching it. That sort of coping.
Do you know what I really hate about spiders?
What are you afraid?
The way they
scuttle.
The way they sort of stand up.
They scuttle, don't they?
Then they scuttle.
Well, I said to somebody once, we should be more frightened of mushrooms than spiders because there are more species of dangerous mushrooms than there are spiders. But they don't scuttle mushrooms and they stay put.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It is the perception of, and I've got two cats.
Yeah.
One of them who never gives, a toss about anything.
Yeah.
And this one here who's sleeping beside me will... play with a spider, but it doesn't kill it.
Right. That's a shame. You could do with a spider-busting cat, couldn't you? Never mind mice.
What would you do with Karen then?
So what we do, we teach you the relaxation techniques. So that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little bit of hypnosis, but some very deep relaxation techniques. So that, and we'd actually get you. I mean, would you be all right looking at pictures of spiders or videos? Photographs, or would that?
I think I can. Oh my God! Looking at a picture of a spider is probably complicated, but I would try and do it.
So I'd start you with that. So I'd start with something that would be the easiest, perhaps a cartoon picture, and then I'd start exposing you to photographs of spiders. I collect these. People send me them because they know about my interest in phobias. So I've got lots of lovely pictures of spiders.
And slowly, what you do with the photos, Ed, is retrain the brain. Is it?
So that you're starting with something that.
I must be getting better because I never used to be able to
talk about it.
Write. The word spider.
Yeah. And some people can't talk about it, so you're doing really well. So it's just going along the same lines that you're doing and gradually exposing yourself that sounds bad, until you know what I mean?
You're right, yes.
Until you're not afraid to have the picture of the spider in your hand, then progress to looking at maybe video clips from YouTube and whatever of spiders.
I could have it in my arms.
A picture, I'm talking about a picture.
A picture.
Yeah. No, I would never expect you to hold a spider in your hand.
No.
It's not necessary, but it's a matter of just being able to cope, perhaps catching it in a glass. You don't actually have to touch it, but that's something to work towards. And, it does take time and patience.
Do you know, I used to be able to chuck a bowl over a spider and leave it there for the night.
Right.
And I'd be waking up during the night and thinking, oh my God, have I killed the spider? Because I don't want it to not have any oxygen.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I know.
You don't want to kill the spider.
No,
So these things terrify you, but you don't want to kill them. That is so sweet, isn't it?
I know. It's
You sound like a lovely person.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And then, of course, the spider was still alive, the next morning.
Smiling and laughing at you. But you're going the right way. You're going the right way about it. Just keep looking at the photographs and then the videos, and then pluck up the courage to, trap the spider, and knowing that, maybe give it little air holes so that you're reassured you're not going to kill the poor thing.
Karen, good luck. Thanks for your call. 0500 909 693. I mean, what's really interesting from the 2 callers we just had there is, I know this all sounds ridiculous, but do you get that a lot?
Oh, all the time. Everybody that comes to me...
But it's not ridiculous. It's a real thing.
It's not ridiculous, and a lot of the phobias that come to me, they think they're the only people that have them. And they're so reassured when I say, no, don't worry, I have hundreds of people with needle phobia. It's nothing to be ashamed, nothing to be embarrassed about. People are embarrassed, especially very educated, intelligent people who've got very good jobs, and they think that this is something that they shouldn't have. But it affects anybody and everybody. It's not discriminatory.
And part of that is because it's one of those things... it's a bit like dealing with relationships in a way. Your brain can't help you.
Well, the brain is what's causing it, because we learn the fear and the fear.
What I mean by that is there's no logic to it, is there? You look at it and you go, I know that spider terrifies me. Yeah. I know it's smaller than me. I mean, she said it herself, didn't she, Karen? She said, I know that it's probably more scared of me than I'm scared of it. But something in the brain is making the rational part of the brain go, none of that matters, I'm scared.
Exactly, because our fear takes over, and when our emotions take over, rationality goes out the window. It's like when you get angry, you're very emotional, and all the rationality goes out the window, and that's what's happening. So if we can calm you down and take away that emotional reaction, then you will become a bit more rational about it.
Patrick in Belfast has sent a text for us, 85058, says, Phil, could you please ask your phobia expert if there's any connection between phobias of clowns and birds? I'm completely terrified of both, so much so I feel irritated even thinking about them.
Wow. No, I didn't know that there was a connection, but I live and learn, and maybe there is. Clown phobia is very, very common, and people who have clown phobia, are always embarrassed about it, and they think they're the only person in the world.
Does clown phobia come from horror films?
No, I don't think it comes from horror films, because it starts often with children who presumably don't necessarily get exposed to that. Right. But I think it's to do with the mask and the fact you don't know what's hidden behind it. And a lot of phobias about unpredictability and not being able to control what's happening. So with a clown, you don't really know what's behind the mask, and that can be, that concept is quite scary. But I don't deal a lot with bird phobias, actually. That is a little bit rarer. And it might just be that the two things have generalised, Patrick, or it might be that you just happen to have two phobias, and some people do. But I don't know of a link. But there might be.
Right, OK. Interesting. Mark says, I do a lot of walking for exercise, but I too have a phobia of big dogs. What can I do about it?
Well, I think big dogs are scary, and I don't necessarily want people to go around saying, oh, you shouldn't be scared of big dogs, and go up to them and stroke them and stuff. So it's actually quite healthy to be wary of big dogs. And I wouldn't treat somebody for having to cross the road when there's a big dog there. Right. If it stops him going for his walks and affecting his life, or it generalises to all dogs or all creatures, then that's a different matter. But really, I think you should perhaps be wary of big dogs. And it's like somebody who's scared of small spaces. I'm never going to get them to go potholing, because you don't need to.
But, I would imagine I'm guessing now, but maybe Mark likes to do his walking in places which are popular dog walking spots.
Parks and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that is a real problem for me. I can't run in those kind of places.
Because there's lots of big dogs.
Oh, because they're off the leads.
Yeah, they're off
And the line that annoys me the most from dog owners, he's only playing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They jump up at you.
Yeah.
And again, they're very unpredictable. And you never know which dogs are going to be dangerous. And there are dangerous dogs out there. So if it's something that you feel is really affecting your life and stopping you walking and stopping you going where you want to, then perhaps it's again about gradual exposure, perhaps getting dogs that are friendly, that belong to your friends, being in the same room as them. I've done this with kids, actually, getting them in the same room, getting very... I have somebody I work with who has a very friendly dog that is very strokeable, and that we know...
The other problem with this is that dog owners and friends of mine who've got dogs say, and they can smell fear.
Dogs can smell fear.
So if you're scared... it's almost worse, isn't it? You're almost not provoking the dog, but the dog.
They get very excited, don't they? And then that makes you worse because you start flapping, and then they start flapping, and they're jumping up at you, and it is a bit scary. But it's it's about whether it's taking over your life. If you can lead a perfect, a fairly normal life, but you have to go a slightly different route, or you cross over the road, I don't think that's necessarily worth going to the trouble and expense of treating.
We've done dogs, needles, spiders. What are the other obvious ones that you have to treat at your clinic?
Lifts, escalators. Now, there's an unusual one, but I get a lot of people with escalator phobia, and it's always going down. So they can go up, but they can't go down.
Right.
And I've just treated a lady, actually, and she's had it for 42 years.
Really?
She's a lovely lady, and she's always managed just to avoid escalators. She takes the stairs, doesn't mind lifts. And it got to the stage where she needed to use escalators because she's got family in London and she wanted to use the underground.
Oh, of course.
So until now, not needed treating, absolutely fine. But suddenly she's needed treating. She came to me and I sorted her in 3 sessions. She couldn't believe it after 42 years. Same principles, and just giving her that confidence to know what's going to happen and to teach her how her body is reacting.
Is there anything that you haven't been able to cure?
Well, I can cure most things. The only thing I can't cure totally are flying folk playing in my back garden. And as I say, you need that gradual exposure.
But you could get someone, like my mate's partner, for example, you could get him to the stage where he would be willing to set foot on the plane.
Correct, yeah. But I can't go, unless I actually accompany them, which would be very expensive, which I could do, I can't actually get them to fully experience the flying experience.
You got any of your own?
I used to be scared of lifts. Everyone asked me about, have I got any phobias? I used to be scared of lifts, and I treated myself, so I am a success story. I don't love lifts, and I'm never going to love lifts, and that's never the point. It's just about being able to cope. When I had kids and I had to go in lifts with the buggy, I taught myself using the same techniques that I treat my clients. It worked. I will go in lifts, but not really small ones.
But it's fascinating. We'll have to get you back in. It's a fascinating area, isn't it? Because it's something that most people have got one of. So thank you very much, Dr. Sandi Mann. That's us done. What? That's us done for tonight. Is what I'm trying to say. Back tomorrow, 10:30.